Hi there. Today I'm going to be showcasing how to create your own custom sign-in page using Kinde and Next.js. If you ever worked with Kinde, you should be familiar with the fact that when you press a sign-in button, it will be redirected to a template form. So this template form is customizable, but not very well, or very much, I should say. So here on this edit button, I'm able to change the background image, the positioning of items on the screen, as well as the text alignment, etc. But it doesn't give you the full range of customization that you're able to do on like the code or CSS side of front. That is until recently. So now you're able to actually make full-blown custom pages. And so this is the one that I just built. Fully rendered components, and all of these will work exactly the same way from the way that it will work with Kinde. So here, go back, press the custom sign-in button. I'm able to enter my email address and go into my 2FA flow. So here I get an email. I can put my code here to sign into my 2FA, or I can just use an external SSO provider and then be able to log in that way. Perfect. So my custom sign-in works exactly the same way. I can input my email, and I can do the same thing with signing in with my custom Google SSO that I've configured, and it will route me exactly to the same place. Except, you know, obviously my way is branded with my amazing sign-in page that I created. So let's create this ourselves. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to be starting out with is just the base Kinde Next.js starter kit. You can grab this off of GitHub. So this is basically, I just pulled this in and didn't touch it whatsoever so far, and we'll be starting from scratch essentially. So if let's navigate to our app page, and let's get started. So first, we're going to be adding a new application. We'll call this application a custom sign-in, because obviously we're trying to showcase the custom sign-in properties. Make sure it's a backend web app. We'll select Next.js as the language and framework, and we will need to update our callback URLs and the logout URLs. So let's go to our local sample file here, and let's copy these URLs over. So since this is on localhost, I'll add these as both the login and logout, the dashboard for our allowed callbacks, and we will need to add another URL, the API Kinde callback URL. So we need this one to make the authentication process actually go forward. The very bottom, authentication experience, we can use our own sign-in and sign-up screens. Let's press save to enable that. Now we can go to our quick start section. In our quick start section, we have environmental variables. Let's copy these over now and go to our .local sample and overwrite our base and Control S. One more thing that we need to do is actually grab our connection IDs from the authentication processes that we have configured. And so if we go to the environment, into our authentication, into our email, we have our new application name, and we want to enable that kind of authentication that we want. So I want to enable passwordless. So we've enabled passwordless, and we will need to take down these IDs. So I'm just going to be copying and pasting them into my .env file here. Works perfectly well. Obviously you can have both, but just in case, I'm copying both of them, just in case I want to switch back and forth. Let's press save, and we will grab the connection ID from our Google app as well. Let's just paste this in here for now. And that is it. Oh, we forgot to configure this application. So in the custom sign-in, we want to actually enable the Google Auth. So let's press save there and make sure the password one is, yep, perfect, okay. So that's it from what we want from our side. Here, let's actually up these to a variable context, so we can actually assign it to something. I'm going to be assigning it to next public Kinde connection email passwordless. Yeah, very creative of me for assigning the names. So it's completely fine making these next public. During the sign-in process, these get exposed anyways, so it's not like we're trying to hide them. So completely fine putting them into a .env and making them public for the code. Here we have a passwordless, password, and a Google connection for the SSO. What we want to do now is obviously test this out and see if it works. So let's rename this to just .local. Looks like I already have a local file here. Let's delete this one. Let's rename this guy to local, and let us start the server. npm run dev. This is your first time running it. It should automatically download all the packages that you need, or you can just install it yourself before the requirements, which is probably good etiquette, but it should be able to do it for you. Looks like it's actually running on localhost 3002. Let's kill that and run it again. Okay, now it's running on 3000. So now we can go back and refresh this page, and we should hit our application that we just built, which is just basically the starter kit. And here we have a sign in button and a sign up button. If we click the sign in button, hopefully it redirects us to our sign in page. And now we can continue with Google or the password list, sign in. And oh, perfect, beautiful, works. We get our username, sign up button probably works as well. We are good to go. And now let's create the actual authentication page itself. First things first, I'm gonna go into our source app page module.css. I'm gonna copy a bunch of CSS files over. Going over these probably will require a video in itself. So just a broad strokes, I am going to be creating a bunch of new containers and stuff and styling to get it the way that I want. You can play around with it as you wish, because repo should be able to be publicly available, but I mean, it's perfectly fine to go through and create it and change it the way that you want it to look like. Okay, so next is we will want to create a new route. So in this new route, it will be under the app section. We will have a new route called auth, and this will be a new page. So we'll make a new folder. Let's call this folder auth. Inside this folder will be a page.tsx file. Inside not page. Let me fix this real quick. Page.tsx file. Inside this page.tsx file, we will be creating our actual application for where it wants to route to, so our custom page itself. I'm going to copy and paste the code here and basically go through it step by step rather than just write it out, because essentially I'm just creating a container for the links itself. Essentially importing a bunch of stuff. So React, importing our styles that we just created and copy and paste in the module CSS, the register link and the login link, which are actually from the kind auth components themselves, which will handle the auth flow. We're going to be creating a new component called email input from our email section. We have yet to do that. So right now this is being aired out. And obviously we're going to be importing the Google logo so that our authentication looks sincere and well made. So it comes from the official React icons library, so it's good to go. Here we have a auth page that we're creating for this functional component here. Functional component as in we're going to be rendering an email input from another link, as well as having the register act as the from the kind Next.js component library. So here we have a new class, we have containerizing it, we have a card. Inside the card, this is where we're going to be actually putting in our logo itself. Inside this logo, we're going to have a custom sign-in title, and this title is what is going to be shown above it. Auth methods. The most important part that we would need to look into is inside this div, where we're going to actually have the components to authenticate themselves. Inside this div, we have the Google button. So we are using the login link function, which comes naturally with the Next.js. But what is happening here is we are passing an auth URL param. Inside this auth URL param, we need to assign this to a connection ID. Inside this connection ID will be the ID from the Google connection itself. And so we're just grabbing this from the .env local file, and that's be assigned to the Google SSO that we have there. Here, updating the Google button to actually have the Google icon that were imported from the React icons library, and obviously the text. And that's it, closing off the login link function. And so other than that, let's delete this email input for now. Let's click save and let us see what it looks like. So right here, if we just go into the auth page for now, we should be able to hit our custom sign-in page. Inside our custom sign-in page, we have the sign in with Google button, as well as the create account button. So the create about button is using the register link, the same way that the top right sign up button is using. And I would just basically put it down here with a new title. So for the create account. So here, if I click and sign in with Google, it should lead me to the authentication flow where I can actually sign in and do all of that. So how do we do the email portion of this? So I'm going to create a new component underneath my app directory, and I'll just put it in a folder called components for now. Inside components, I will have a new file called email.tsx. Okay, so inside the email.tsx, we are going to be using a client library so that we're actually, it's not client, but server rendered HTML for app router standards. So we're able to actually use functions inside. And what we're going to be doing is we are essentially importing a bunch of stuff, modules, the login link to establish the login parameters. But we are going to be setting a function for email input, which takes email and sets the email and uses states to switch between where the email is doing. So what we want to happen is a user goes into the form, inputs what information they have into the form, clicks the button, and that based off of the form input, it will change this able parameter for login hint under the login link function. If you want more specifics, you can navigate to Kinde custom sign-in. And as we can see in the custom sign-in page, the way that this is user icons, let's go back down here in the user custom sign-in page, the way that we actually pass the login hint, pass the email into the parameter is through this login hint variable under the off URL params. So that's what we are doing here. Cool. So here, login hint is the email, and we have the connection ID process is now assigned to their password list function. And obviously we're trying to escape it out because it's not defined until it is run. So TypeScript will yell at you unless you basically declare that it could also be handled as a null character. And yeah, that's it. So input, this is going to be returning a style, class name, easy input, which is the input is assigning the email component into this for the value. He'll handle the change. So on the login link, we have the actual button type of it going through the off URL parameters. And so then we make a button, call it next, and should be good to go. So Control S on here. Let's go back to our auth section page here. Inside this auth section page, and then let's undelete what we have for the email input since we created it. Control S and go back to our auth signature. So if we navigate to login.auth, we now have that email input. And so now that we are able to sign in with our new input, if we press next, it will go straight into our 2FA login verification. So one thing that you've probably noticed is that right now we have to input manually because this sign-in page is redirecting to the Kinde official login method and not the custom sign-in method. And two, we still have these annoying headers. So it looks sloppy. It's not really nice design. We want either a separate page or a modal. So we're going to go ahead and try to fix both of those issues. First things first, let's actually make this sign-in route to our custom sign-in page. And so let's go into our layout.tsx, which is responsible for the headers and the footers. If we go to our, what's it called, for the login link for the top, we will need to change these to actually have it redirect to the custom page itself. So we can just delete the login, make this a regular link class. Inside this link class, we can make a reference. And inside the reference, we can add it that it's going to the auth page itself. So it's not the sign in, it goes into auth. Control S. Let's go back into our main local host. Now, if you press sign in, it'll be redirected to the custom sign in page that we built. And so now to get rid of the headers and the footers on our custom sign-in page, what is essentially happening is this layout TSX. This is the root layout that is wrapping everything underneath any of these components in the app router with this format and layout. What we want to do is assign layouts for generalized for both components. The only way, that's the only nice, easy way to be able to do this is to essentially split these into their own sections by using the route, the route layout function of Next.js and the app router. What that means is we're basically going to be creating a new folder. Inside this new folder, we'll call one of these auth, and we'll wrap them with parentheses. Very important. And we'll create another one called general. So we're going to put everything that's not auth in general and everything that's auth in auth. So if you put the parentheses, Next.js will ignore this in routing. So here, just because it says general, it won't actually live inside general. It will ignore it and we'll go underneath the next one down. So here in general, we're going to be putting everything that lives should be living in general, which is going to be this page.tsx, as well as this layout page and this dashboard here. Let's put this into general. Want to make sure the refactoring changes. Let's press OK. Update the imports, of course. And then for this auth section, we're just going to move it into auth, and update import for auth is yes. Now what we want to do is create a layout page for this auth section. And this layout page for this auth section will be super simple, something extremely minimalist, because we just don't want anything to wrap around it. The page itself will be perfectly fine. And so let's create a layout.tsx file. Inside this layout.tsx file, control paste this code. Essentially, it's just importing React. We're making a minimalist layout, which is just shows all the children into it and does nothing else. Let's click save. Let's make sure to save all since we changed a whole bunch of stuff. And let's navigate back to our localhost 3000 and see what happens. Cannot resolve. We need to update our imports from our recently moved folder icons. So let's see here. Inside the page module for the auth page. So if you navigate to auth page, since this now lives a layer deep, we can just do this. We can probably also need to update this page.tsx for global styles, or actually not. Is that all it wants us to do? No, there we go. So for general and layout, tsx. Oh, there we go. We have the global variable. So since again, it lives one page down, just add another page up and we should be good to go. So now we have our sign up page, headers, footers. Click the sign in page, full screen, custom sign in page here, sign in with Google, press the button, click here. You should be able to be navigated back out. Awesome. So hopefully followed along here. Hopefully followed along. A lot of copy and pasting for the code, but again, the actual process is extremely simple. Essentially, all you have to do is arrange these new logout links and the login links and update them as you see fit to where the connection IDs need to go. Simple as literally adding an auth URL section to them. Let me actually find where they are. So here in this login link section, all we're doing is adding an auth URL param called connection ID, and then we're basically telling it where the connection ID is, and that's it. So this now whole thing can create any button you wish, click that button, and it will route to that connection ID that you chose. Email, exact same thing, but we just need to be able to make a separate component to essentially do a server-side render of the form. And inside the form, we'll be updating the login hint with our email, which then skips and bypasses the product itself. One thing to note is that if you go back to the sign-in page here, so we're here on our app. If we go to applications into our custom sign-in app that we just created, if you go down here using your own sign-in key, if you trigger this off, we'll see what happens. So let me wait for this first to update a little bit. Doing some hard work there in the background. Cool, let's go navigate back here. Let's log out. So since we updated back here, we still have our custom sign-in page, but if you press the sign-in button, it will actually go back to the original page. Since technically it's not on, all it's doing now is routing to kinds. So you're completely bypassing the face list that we should have been able to implement. So if you now go back here to showcase what the changes would do, instead of going into the sign-in screen now, what this will do is go directly into the Google SSO. So then you completely bypass the entire product itself. I hope this was informative. Like I said, GitHub repo will be available to the public. You'll be able to more in depth see what kind of changes they are, but especially with the page and globals, hopefully you'll be able to customize a sign-in page worthy of your talents. If you need any more help, feel free to reach out to us on Slack, on Discord, on Intercom. We'll be sure to help you out building an amazing product with our authentication. Have a great rest of your day, Giants. Peace.